Everybody! Get out of here!
Meteorologists are at a loss to explain what is causing this weather and why it has taken them by surprise.
That sudden drop in temperature has half an hour ago. Mexican officials closed the border in the line of so many U.S. refugees.
Be prepared to go live to Los Angeles.
Are you getting into the camera?
What you see is happening now.
Look over there behind me! That's a tornado! Yes! A twister!
This is just massive.
The man who attacked him was so violent he had to be sedated. You can see him writhing on the ground, struggling with police as they tried to arrest him. This is video from our 10 News breaking news tracker. During the struggle, the man tried to grab for an officer's gun.
Mount Diablo, you name it, everyone was obscured. Oh my gosh, we're having an earthquake. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is a good one. All right.
That was a good one.
That was a big one.
Very
That was a big one.
6:49 a.m.
6:49, that was a big one. All right.
Algae blooms are contaminating the water in communities across the country. People have been getting sick and birds and fish have been dying.
Storm Station 7 very busy this afternoon as severe weather rolled through, causing this damage in Lincoln County. Take a look here. Winds battered and dented these silos and tore apart buildings, just leaving behind rubble. At least 2 small tornadoes did touch down, and many of you saw funnel clouds. Meteorologist Matt Makins was out in the middle of it all, chasing those storms.
Big thunderstorms today, and the biggest impact we had was wind damage. This semi blown over on I-70 not too far to the west of Lyman. We followed the thunderstorms as they developed over the foothills at about 2 o'clock, came over Denver relatively weakly. We saw wind damage being the biggest threat, even though we saw funnel clouds and tornado reports coming in. Wind damage was in Kiowa. Probably the most substantial damage was out in Genoa. Sheriff's office took these pictures of extensive wind damage to structures, even a blown building at times here this afternoon. The storms continue, but they're racing off into Kansas at this hour. With Corey Reppenhagen, I'm meteorologist Matt Makins in Storm Tracker 7.
El Granada was so much smoke before. I think you had a lot of company on that, Cassie Jean, because everybody was sending out pictures of, be it Mount Umina, Mount Diablo, you name it. Everyone was obscured. Oh my gosh, we're having an earthquake. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is a good one. All right.
That was a good one.
That was a big one. That was a big one.
6:49 a.m.
6:49. That was a big one. All right, I'm going to throw it back to you guys because I think we have.
Okay, honestly, I'm still feeling a little bit dizzy, and our lights here rattled quite a bit. So we're going to get some information about that for you. Again, an earthquake.
We just had a really
very
strong
big,
earthquake.
and let us know where you are and what you felt as well. We'll be back with that in just a moment.
It's not just gross to look at, it's toxic too. Algae blooms are contaminating the water in communities across the country. People have been getting sick, and birds and fish have been dying. Officials in Ohio have spent millions of dollars trying to fight the green goo showing up in Lake Erie. The toxins peak in the summer heat, so right now it's bad. Experts say rising global temperatures will only make things worse. But they say the biggest health concern is that there's very little oversight, and it's unclear what sort of voluntary monitoring is being done to test for the toxins. I'm Matt Sampson, The Weather Channel.
Stop resisting. Breaking overnight, it took several police officers to arrest just one man in Barrio Logan there after he attacked a sergeant outside of a bar. 10 News reporter Jared Aarons joins us live now. And Jared, was that officer hurt?
The officer was hurt a little bit, Jason. He had a cut on his lip and also some scratches on his arms and we're told his head. This whole thing happened right outside of this bar, the Cabo Wabo Grill on 30th and Main. The man who attacked him was so violent he had to be sedated. You can see him writhing on the ground, struggling with police as they tried to arrest him. This is video from our 10 News breaking news tracker. During the struggle, the man tried to grab for an officer's gun. One of the security guards from the bar told us that at that point, even he was ready to jump in and help.
To me, it looked like the guy was trying to just take his weapon. He started swinging at the officer, started trying to go for his waist. And at that point, I was like, nah, that shit can't go through, not right here. Now, if he gets the gun, that's a big different level right there. He go way down south.
While all that was going on, a second man came up to the bar covered in blood. He said he'd been attacked, but then he started fighting with police as well. He even tried to spit on them at one point. Officers had to arrest him. They even covered his face with a mesh bag. They tied him down and hoisted him up, lifting him into a police car. The first man, the one who attacked the sergeant, was arrested for attacking a police officer on assault charges. No word, though, on what charges that second man will face this morning. Live in Barrio Logan, Jared Aarons, 10 News.
We want to update you on breaking news that we are hearing out of Thailand. The scene of a blast in central Bangkok is being sealed off by police because there could be a bomb in the area that remains active and needs to be defused. We are joined now by Stephen L. Herman. He is the Southeast Asia Bureau Chief and Senior Correspondent in Asia for Voice of America. Steve, thank you so much for being with us. What can you tell us? What do you know about what's happening on the ground there?
We're standing in the intersection of Sukhumvit and Ratchadamri in central Bangkok, where there was an explosion that was heard throughout central Bangkok. Earlier, when we arrived on the scene and went up right to the gate of this Erawan Shrine, a very popular landmark for tourists in Bangkok, next to the Grand Hyatt Erawan Hotel, we saw 6 bodies under sheep. There is one body also right in front of the shrine that I'm looking at right now, and scattered throughout this intersection are body parts covered with white pieces of paper, essentially. There is a bomb disposal unit on the scene. They have pushed us back about 70 meters. They're very concerned about the possibility of a second device going off. An unnamed official did tell me shortly after we arrived, when I asked him what had happened, he did confirm it was a bomb blast. So we have seen 6 bodies. We're told from other sources there may have been 6 more fatalities. We saw ambulances transport a number of injured from the scene. And normally this intersection would be extremely crowded with tourists. We're right across the street from 2 major shopping malls where thousands and thousands of tourists from all around the world come every day. In this area, right now, there are no tourists around. There are hundreds of rescue personnel, Army, police, firemen, and reporters on the scene.
Steve, we are looking at, as you're telling us about this, we are looking at live pictures coming in from Reuters, and we ask our viewers to bear with us. Sometimes the picture looks to go black. It is, of course, nighttime there, but these are live pictures on the scene. You mentioned that this is a very busy area. It is next to some very popular, some very large hotels. Can you see, are they evacuating people from those hotels? Has that been done already?
Shortly after the sound of the explosion, those people who were inside the Hyatt next door were not allowed to leave. But when we were coming up the street, because our office is only about 5-7 minutes away from here, I was in the bureau on the 18th floor and heard this boom. I thought it was thunder. I really didn't think anything of it until I didn't hear anything else. And then we started to see on Twitter that there had been some sort of explosion. But people were calmly walking up and down the street at that point. Now they have cleared out the intersection and are holding people back. But if another blast of the same size went off, there would be a number of rescue personnel who would be seriously injured or worse.
Putting their lives in danger, no doubt. And Steve, just to clarify for our viewers, what we are looking at are not all live pictures. That it's actually tape from just a short time ago of scenes of the blast, of the activity around that in the moments afterwards. You said that there are rescue and personnel on the scene. What are you hearing in terms of, or if you can see and have a line of vision about what is being done in order to defuse the bomb? Do they know where it is? Or are they trying to search? What do you think has led them to the conclusion that there is still an active bomb on the site?
Okay, I'm having a little difficulty hearing you because some of the police are shouting at us to move back farther now. But here's a senior police officer. I'm trying to get someone to give us a little bit more information. Can you tell us, sir, we're live on the air, what happened? No? Okay. But as an official told me earlier, there was a bomb blast, and there is concern about a second blast that could occur. And we did see on the ground in the road a passerby. I think we're hearing another boom, but I think that's thunder. I hope it's thunder. But we spotted an electronic circuit board a few centimeters length and width in the middle of the road, strewn among the body parts, and they have collected that for evidence. And there's a bomb disposal unit on the scene now going through the area, trying to determine if there may be another explosive device right now. And as I said, they keep pushing us back farther and farther every few minutes. When we arrived on the scene, we were able to get right to the gate of the shrine and look in there and determine that there were at least 6 bodies under white sheets inside the shrine.
$30,000 U.S. troops, close to 50,000 South Koreans, engaging now in an annual military exercise like this inside South Korea. The drills, called Ulchi Freedom Guardian, bring a threat from Kim Jong-un through his news agency.
If the United States wants their mainland to be safe, then the Ulchi Freedom Guardian should stop immediately.
The North Koreans take it a step further, virtually threatening a nuclear attack. A Pentagon spokesman tells CNN they take all these threats seriously and are, quote, monitoring the situation. The North Koreans make threats every year during these exercises, but this year the tension is thicker.
What makes this year particularly different in that the tensions are heightened on both sides as we've gone through this because of the landmine incident on the DMZ.
Earlier this month, Kim Jong-un's soldiers, according to South Korean and UN officials, crossed the border in the demilitarized zone and planted landmines that nearly killed 2 South Korean soldiers. North Korea denied it. Analysts say American troops could have just as easily been wounded if they'd been in that area. And it's been less than a year since North Korea actually did launch a successful attack on the U.S., the cyber strike on Sony Pictures Entertainment in response to the movie The Interview. With those attacks and all the executions inside his regime, analysts worry about the decision-making of the young dictator.
He's very rash, he's unpredictable, and he's very impetuous. He has anger management issues. He's very quick to anger. So all these things make it just the situation so much more unpredictable than in the past.
But can Kim strike the U.S. with a nuclear weapon? U.S. officials and weapons experts tell CNN the North Koreans don't yet have the capacity to hit the U.S. with a nuclear-tipped missile. Experts say Kim's regime has 10 to 15 nuclear bombs now, has miniaturized warheads to fit missiles that can reach the U.S. But the North Koreans haven't flight tested those missiles yet, and they could break up as they re-enter the atmosphere.
You may be down a 10-20% chance of success, and are you willing to commit suicide for a 10% chance of success? I mean, most nations would say absolutely not.
What are you doing? Oh my God! Wait, you're on his prosthetic leg? You're on his prosthetic leg. You're on his prosthetic leg. Stop! Stop! Hey, so you guys do, that's how you handle handicapped people? This is how you treat citizens? You're having him partially nude?
You guys have a job to do. You guys have a 4 years. Get off me, man. Please, get off me, please.
Thailand's capital, Bangkok, was shaken this morning by a second explosion. It happened at a riverside pier where people were waiting for a ferry. There were no injuries. This was less than 24 hours after a larger blast killed at least 20 people. We're now getting our first look at the man suspected of setting off that bomb. Charlie Daggett is tracking developments from London. Charlie, good morning.
Good morning. Police have released that footage of a suspect they say is the bomber, and they're asking the public to join in the manhunt. He was seen apparently dumping his backpack not long before the bomb went off, and they're now investigating links into the other blast that rattled Bangkok today. Police say an unidentified man hurled the bomb at a busy pier, but the explosive fell into the water, injuring no one. Here's the suspect police are looking for in last night's bombing, a young man in a yellow T-shirt and a backpack seen walking away from the scene of the blast after leaving his backpack behind. At the blast site this morning, they're cleaning up, collecting evidence, and struggling to come to terms with exactly what happened. Surveillance footage captured the moment what's believed to be a pipe bomb tore through packed crowds at an outdoor shrine popular with both tourists and residents alike, striking the heart of the capital at the height of rush hour, designed to kill as many people as possible. Emergency teams were quickly overwhelmed. So many victims, so many catastrophic injuries, it was hard to know who to treat first. Thailand's prime minister said the city had seen minor explosions in the past, but nothing on this scale. This time, they aim to take the lives of innocent people, he said, to destroy our tourism and our economy. The Thai government has its share of internal enemies, but at this point, nobody is ruling out international terror groups either. Adding to fears after that explosion at the canal this morning, police found 2 more explosive devices following the deadly blast last night, which bomb disposal teams were able to defuse. Gail?
Thank you, Charlie.
It was a packed courtroom, many in here family members of APD officers who stood by them and sat behind them during a 7-day hearing that ended with the judge deciding these 2 men will face criminal charges.
The court finds, with the exception of involuntary manslaughter, that the state has established probable cause as to all the counts in the amended information.
The state said what these officers did a year and a half ago was criminal.
APD had laid a trap for him or an ambush. They deliberately wanted him to come down so they could then attack him again.
James Boyd, a mentally ill homeless man with a long and violent criminal history, was illegally camping in the foothills of Albuquerque. He pulled out knives on open space officers. That led to a 3-hour standoff with police. Officers, including crisis negotiators, were not successful at getting Boyd to drop his knives. Dominic Pettis and Keith Sandy were assigned to provide lethal cover for APD's dog handler, who was going to get Boyd into custody. When non-lethal tactics failed and the dog handler got within 9 feet of Boyd, Sandy and Pettis opened fire.
What is it that Keith Sandy and Donald Pettis are supposed to do? Sit there and let him die? That can't be the answer. At that split-second decision, when they see the lethal threat posed to the officer, they have to do something.
But the state didn't see it that way. They told the court since the shooting deaths of 2 officers a decade ago, APD trained officers with fear and excessive force. A judge decided Officer Dominic Pettis and now retired Detective Keith Sandy will stand trial for Boyd's death. The 2 officers will now be arraigned, meaning they will be formally charged with second-degree murder or other charges. There is no date set for that yet. For Target 7, I'm Nancy Laughlin.
A first in the history of U.S. law enforcement.
Taking fire. We are taking fire.
A rolling shootout with hostages with automatic weapons. Scores of police cars hit as gunmen indiscriminately fire an AK-47 from an SUV speeding through the streets of Stockton, California. The 3 heavily armed gunmen had just robbed this bank, taking 3 innocent women hostage. One of them, Missy Holt Singh, withdrew money for a hair appointment from the ATM, her 12-year-old daughter watching nearby as a gunman uses her mother as a human shield. For 62 minutes, police car after police car pursue the SUV, reaching speeds of 120 miles per hour. One hostage thrown out of the SUV, another jumps for her life. But Holt Singh is still inside with the 3 gunmen. There are so many bullets from the SUV, 14 police cars are disabled, including an armored SWAT vehicle. The gunmen refusing to surrender. Officers so terrified they text their loved ones while in pursuit, fearing they won't survive. Then comes this final moment. The gunfire goes on and on.
Well, that was about 300 gunshots.
It was actually much more. Now, more than a year later, this independent investigation by the Washington-based Police Foundation found more than 600 shots were fired. The hostage, Misty Holt Singh, was struck 10 times by police bullets, killing her instantly. The report described a chaotic scene with very little control, just police officers trying to stop a threat.
The report did identify a need for more training and response plans for heavily armed hostage situations, which we will review.
This is a classic case of contagious fire.
Meaning one cop fires and the others follow suit.
You've got to control the situation. You don't let the situation control you. You got to be tactically aware. If rounds are being fired at you, you want to distance yourself from that. You want to get the proper resources to the problem.
And that didn't happen in this case.
Not in this case.
I believe this. I hope this thing is not coming at us. Oh my goodness. Let's see if I'm going that way. I'm glad we didn't go to fighting class.
3 people are missing in Alaska this morning after devastating landslides tore through a small city. At least 3 landslides swept away several homes in Sitka yesterday. The city's fire marshal is among the missing. Heather Hinsey of our Anchorage affiliate, that's KTVA, is in Sitka. Heather, good morning.
Good morning. Sitka is a small, tight-knit community of about 9,000 people. The fire chief describes it as a town where everyone knows everyone, including the 3 men missing in the landslide. Now all crews can do is wait for daylight to begin what's now being called a recovery effort.
There used to be 2 houses up here. The houses are now gone.
It's the devastating aftermath of heavy rain in southeast Alaska. Debris covering the road after the waterlogged hillsides gave way.
It's just an unstable area at this time, so I made the decision that we're not going to dig in that area and put other people at risk. So that also meant that I had to make the decision that 3 people weren't going to come home tonight.
Reports of landslides and sinkholes came in early Tuesday morning after the city was hit with 2.5 inches of rain in just 24 hours. Alaska Governor Bill Walker.
We're sending people down to do all we can to help in that situation.
Police closed streets after a landslide destroyed at least 1 home and took 3 men with it. Brothers Elmer and Ulysses Diaz and Fire Marshal William Stortz. City Administrator Mark Gorman delivered the heart-wrenching news to Stortz's wife.
Was the one who called her to tell her husband was missing in the landslide, and she came up with her orange rubber gardening gloves, just a mess, and saying, "I'm here to start digging."
This morning, geologists will determine if the slide areas are stable enough for crews to get in to begin those recovery efforts. And later today, Alaska Governor Bill Walker will be here to tour the slide areas. Sitka city and borough officials hope that he can declare it a disaster. Clarissa, back to you.
Heather, thank you.
And a new study by U.S. scientists shows that almost 2 million people in California and the Midwest live on aquifer sites with high uranium levels. The study was conducted by the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. It revealed that uranium concentration in the Midwest measured up to 89 times higher than the standard set by the Environmental Protection Agency. California aquifers proved to be even more contaminated with 180 times the maximum contaminant level. The 2 aquifers provide drinking water to almost 6 million people and 1/6 of the U.S. cropland.
Good morning, I'm Dia Riley. We are continuing to follow breaking news right now in Seffner, where we've learned a sinkhole that killed a man in 2013 has reopened. Now, this has happened at 240 Faithway Drive, that's in Seffner. We're told that current sinkhole is estimated to be 17 feet wide and 20 feet deep. We want to check in now with our Ryan Raish. He's on the scene. Ryan, what can you tell us about what's going on out there right now?
Yeah, Dee, I just pulled up here, and I'm actually behind the camera, running the camera as we speak right now, and I'm going to zoom in and show you where we're talking about. If you remember back in 2013, the house stood right there, right behind that fence. That fence went up after crews took down the house and cleared out the area. They put up that fence, and there's nothing there. They actually filled in the hole, and I checked with Fire Rescue. They did fill in the hole after that tragedy, but again, right in the exact same area, and it's kind of hard to tell from our vantage point here because that fence is really long, but I believe it's right behind that tree right there where they're kind of starting to walk right now. That's where the house stood, and that's exactly where the hole has opened up a second time. And again, I talked to them, and I wanted to make sure that they filled it in, and they did. And so it should be that exact same area right where the house stood. And certainly some neighbors here are very worried. You can expect, you can imagine what they're going through after what they went through in 2013, thinking that maybe they're in the clear now. Okay, that hole is filled in, but obviously it has opened up again. And if I pan around here, there's one house right there. There's another home right there. I mean, this is a very residential area. So a lot of people on edge right now. You said 17 feet wide, about 20 feet deep. Hopefully Action Air 1, if you haven't seen it already, they'll probably have a better view, a better bird's eye view from where we are on the ground. We do expect an update from the Sheriff's Office shortly. You can see they're already here on scene. Also, code enforcement is expected to arrive shortly to start looking at the damage. I guess if there's any good news here, Dia, there are no homes right where the hole has opened up because, well, there already was one home there, and that home was torn down after the tragedy in 2013. So hopefully it's just that area and it doesn't extend any further. Again, that fence, that black fence you see, excuse me, that is brand new. That went up after the tragedy and after that sinkhole took one man's life and threatened several others back in January of 2013. I was here, several others here. It made national news. It was a very scary incident after this man you see right now was swallowed up by the sinkhole. He was actually asleep in his bed at the time. I remember it very well. It was a very scary situation. And the floor just went out underneath them. And obviously everyone was evacuated. Very scary situation. And again, you can imagine these people who live in this neighborhood, what they're going through right now. They certainly wonder what's next. And obviously a lot of questions as to the extent of the damage, how far underneath the ground this hole goes. I can't, and from our vantage point, I can't see any damage. I can't see the ground giving out anywhere this side of the fence. It appears it's all contained where that fence went up. And again, I just got to the scene. I got to find out exactly the reason why they put the fence up and how far it extends. But obviously a lot of questions still here. And we got to see exactly how far underneath the ground that extends. There are no families, no other homes evacuated. So again, if there's any good news, I suppose that's it, guys.